Here we go, here we go, here we go. 20 pounder. We're here at the amazing JCB Lakes. Look at this place, it's absolutely stunning. And the nice thing about this, it's full of great big carp. There's a lot of water out there, but we're gonna keep it dead simple. We're gonna do some very basic method feeder tactics to get you some bites in the winter months. Come on, let's go and give it a go. My opening tactic for this time of year can be quite different from a lot of people's. I always like to start on a method feeder rather than probably the most popular hybrid feeder. And the reason is for that, I like to put a little bit of bait in the swim and let them know where I am. With a method, the bait will come off a little bit quicker, so you get bits of bait falling through the levels and hopefully it will attract fish into the area. Once I've pinned them down, I may change to a hybrid to really concentrate my feeder for quicker bites. The bait for the feeder is really simple for today. I've got the 2mm cell pellets and I soaked these before I come this morning. So 2 minutes in the strainer, left them in the strainer for 5 minutes, and then before I come I put them in this tub, zipped it up, put it in the back of the car, and when I got here they're pretty much perfect to go. I've just topped them up with a bit of Cell Smart Liquid. This is a real potent, smelly liquid that's got really good attractors in. I just like putting this in my bait and it makes it very sticky as well, so it sits around the feeder perfectly. So you know you're going to get good presentation when you're out there. Got a few 2mm pellets hard there, so I'm going to have a few of those for a few little tricks we've got up our sleeve. And then I've got a brand new, from Mainline Match, a Boilie Crush prototype here. This is Essential Cell, so again it's along the same theme. A nice sweet smell, but we've got a few little flecks here which can just alter the feeder slightly just to give it that little bit more intensity on the bottom. Right, we're all ready to go. First feeder's loaded. Starting off on the method. I'm going to put slightly a bit more bait on than I normally would for the first cast, just to let them know we're here. And I'll probably have a few slightly quicker casts to get going depending on what happens, but let's give it a go. And the most important thing, we've got to get it in there in the right area. So we're starting off shorter. We've seen a few fish around like the 40-metre mark, just show their heads, and there's a few bubbles. There is fish longer, but I'd rather start closer and work my way to them. Makes it easier for us then, doesn't it? So let's get in the mixer and see what we can do. How I load my feeder is quite simple, but there's a few little rules you need to stick to make sure when it's out there it's going to be behaving perfectly. Firstly, obviously, is getting your pellets correct. Making sure they're the right consistency, they bind together well and then break down well. And I do that using just water to soak them, and then I'll add a little bit of Smart Liquid or an additive depending on where I am and how I'm fishing to make sure the breakdown's perfect. Then loading the feeder, if we're talking method, basically I 3/4 fill the mould. The first layer goes on as tight as possible, so I want that bait to stay on the feeder and act as a base while it's out there. Then the second layer, half fill the feeder, so I've got sort of half the amount of bait on the top. And a little tiny thing I do, using a QM1 with a outturn point, you need to make sure that hook point's facing the top, because I think you get more hookups that way. Give it a good squeeze and just make sure everything is in place. I make sure the line's running through the centre part of the feeder and comes out at the same angle, so it's not all trapped within the feeder where it could break down differently and the hook bait could get dislodged and lost under the feeder. Then I'll remove the mould and just give it a lucky squeeze with my fingers to make sure everything's nice and tight around the feeder before I cast out. It's really important you don't move the feeder, so I'm literally just holding pressure on the rod. I can feel the line just to not put too much tension on. We don't want to move that feeder and destroy that lovely ball of bait. We want that hook bait to be nearby and presented well. I tested it in my pot. A little wafter just sticks up off the back of the hook, so that's perfect for me. There we go, all set. I tend to fish quite a slack line. I'll tighten up first so all the line's nice and straight and will sink quickly without moving the feeder, and then I'll literally just drop it back, so I've just got a slight bend in my tip. And there we go. Just above the water surface as well. It's lovely and flat calm today, so we can read bites nice and easily. Now everything's set, I've got time to prepare my next feeder for the next cast. I'm using the X-Safe system, so I can literally just click on and click off. I'm just going to load my feeder while I've got lots of time and just make sure it's done perfectly, because these casts are so important and we're not going to get many in today because sunlight and daylight is a lot shorter than normal. Timing can be a very crucial part of this style of fishing. Knowing how long to leave that bait out there for is really important. You don't want to be sitting there wasting time. So what I like to do is have some kind of timing device. This way you can time each bite, so you sort of start building a pattern of how long bite time is. For example, if you're getting bites after 20 minutes, there's no point in leaving it in for 45. Have a cast sort of every 25. Try and keep a little bit busier. Try and work out that pattern of how long it's taking for those fish to pick up the bait. It's going, it's going. Here we go. You ready? There we go. 6 minutes and we're into one. Very, very tiny bite. It was like it dropped back and then slowly picked up. I was unsure whether to pick up on being the first bite, but yeah, we're latched into one. It pulled back nice and hard, which is what we want to see. Exciting stuff, this. So that was 6 minutes, that cast, so I'll keep an eye on that for the next chuck. 36 gram small method feeder, double skinned with a little 6mm pink wafter. As I said, we didn't go very far. We started at 40 metres, so we've got loads of room to move into. So we're probably a little bit overgunned with all the gear where we're fishing at the minute. But they pull hard, so I'm quite thankful for this rod now. Fishing for carp, you think you'd need heavy line this time of year, but being honest, it just hinders your casting. If you get a wind on or you need to be casting at maximum distance, a heavier line will slow down how far you can cast. So I like to match up a lighter line with a shot leader, and that's really simple for today. I'm using 6 pound Pulse Pro, which is really low diameter, and then I'm tailing that on with a 10 pound Shield shock leader, and the shock leader just is 3 turns on my reel and then through the rest of the rod with a normal drop. So I'm casting off the shock leader, which gives me a lot more strength and confidence when I'm casting it out there. But not only that, when you're playing a fish and reeling it in, as soon as you get in netting distance, you've got the shock leader on your reel and you're in full control, so you know how to net the fish comfortably and safely. Oh, there we go, that's the noise we like to hear. That's the shock leader coming through the rings, so I know the fish is getting pretty close, ready for netting distance. And we're also on the stronger line now, so it can be a little bit more brutal, but I'm just going to take this one easy. First one's always the most nerve-wracking, and we want to make sure we get this one in. The water's quite shallow close in, so I'm just bringing the rod up a little bit higher now, just so I'm sort of dragging it across the rocks and bits and bobs. You get a little bit more control. Keep the angles the same all the time. Oh, it's a nice fish. You can see it stretching the elastic. Good old Frankie's moved me landing net so I can't reach it. And there we go. Just going to drop me landing net on there. Don't like putting it in the water too early, especially when it's clear. Look at that, how clear it is. Upward pressure now, just so we don't get involved in any snags. Look at that, elastic doing the work. You can see the pink wafter in its mouth. Never go far wrong with a pink wafter. Oh, here we go. Come on, get that mouth up. Big golloper there, and then hopefully it'll be in the nets. Yes. There you go. First one of the day. Absolute cracker. Great start. Can you believe though, you're chucking a tiny little method feeder in this huge expanse of water and it results in a fish quite quickly. Shows how powerful that combination of bait and a nice hook bait is in winter conditions. Great fun. Casting in can be a crucial part of this style of fishing. Once you've found the fish and gone to all the effort of getting everything ready, the worst thing you can do is crash that feeder over the top of them and spook them off. So it's really important to take your time and make sure you cast in. I always fish to a clip this time of year. It doesn't matter if I'm fishing 40, 50, 60, or if I'm casting around. I always like to cast to a clip so you can control the feeder when it goes in. I want to sneak it in as such, so I'm not going to scare those fish. I don't mind once it's gone under the surface for a little bit of bait to come off and act like someone's fed the area, but I don't want to go in and spook those fish before they know what it is that's coming. So the important thing is to make sure you hit your clip nice and high and feather the feeder in nice and gently, like you're trying to sneak it in. And that works perfectly this time of year because you can get it in without spooking them off and you've got your best chance of getting a bite. One thing I love about this style of fishing, especially in the winter months, is you need next to no gear at all. Because you're not baiting up or feeding an area, you're chucking about to find the fish, which I think is the way to do it this time of year. You just need minimal prep. Feed rod, maybe a distance rod so you can cover a lot of ground. Do your pellets before you come in the morning. A few method feeders, a few ready tied hook lengths, landing the handle when you box, be a little bit mobile so you can find the fish first thing. Just a great way of spending the day. And method feeder fishing is so simple, made so easy with a mould, or if you're using a hybrid, you just need to load it on. Real nice way of fishing this time of year. And when you've got limited time like myself, it's the way to go. One item of my rig that I'd never go fishing without for this style of fishing is a QM1 hook. Anytime I'm bolt rig fishing or hair rig fishing, I'll always use a QM. It's just for me the perfect pattern. It's proved it over the years. It stood the test of time at all types of fish, especially big fish like carp. The round shape just allows you to fish a slightly lighter wire than you probably would necessarily pick. Allows you to balance your hook baits perfect with it. It's such a crude shape. It just gives you the perfect hook hold when hooked properly. So when bolt rig fishing, as soon as that hook drops in, I'm literally 99% confident that you're going to get most of your fish out. It's such a strong shape as well. And the nice thing is now, for lazy anglers like myself, we do a full range of ready rigs to suit all this style of fishing. They're all based around 4 inches, which I think is the optimal length for sort of like a rig off the end of a method or a hybrid feeder. You've got enough movement and play there. You can fold the bait in without it being too stiff or too long. There we go, we can see the X-Safe stem working perfectly there. Just cushions everything, keeps that hook in position and is really friendly to the fish, so you haven't got line running alongside that fish as you net it. Another beast from JCB. Look at that for a fish. Oh, look at that one. Lovely carp this time of year. There's a few fish in the swim, to be fair. Everything's working perfectly. Can really take advantage of the situation. All the homework before we started, getting the right location, speaking to the right people, not going in guns blazing. We're literally popping the little method in there. We're not baiting the area, we're just fishing to where the fish are, and look how it's resulting. 2 really aggressive bites so far, and what an absolute fish that is. Hook baits. How many hook baits can you have? There are loads out there and they all work in their own right time. But for me, you're here for a few hours. You need to cut those options down. So I tend to, again, look at match results, look at what's been going on, look at the colour of the water, and then pick a few different baits that I think are going to work on the day. At the moment, this is my own personal preference. I'm really into smaller hook baits. I think the 6mm wafters are going to be my bait of choice today. Colour-wise, you can never beat the pink tuna wafter. After seeing in the water and what goes on that, it's always going to be on my side tray. Then I'll go for an opposite colour, so I've got like a nice yellow, so sort of a compromise. A winter bait, which is good as cord, so it looks a little bit like that. And I always go for a sweet kind of smell in the winter months. I think a rich, meaty smell can be too much, so a nice sweet smell that's nice and bright I think is brilliant. And then what I also do is I like to have a little pot which I've developed myself, and I'm really into the goo flavour, which is ISO. Again, more this time of year, it's a very sweet smell, and what it does to your wafters as well is it washes the colour out a little bit, so it makes it look like they've been there for a while but they've got a really strong smell and scent. One thing I like to do is, once the line's nice and tight and I know I'm tight to my feeder, is I like to really slacken off. So I just release my drag a bit and just take enough tension out of the line, just so it's nice and flat. There's a tiny little bend in the tip, and just allows the line behind the feeder to sit nice and low. You don't want it sort of like really stiff behind the feeder, because sometimes as a fish knocks into it, it can move the feeder and wreck the ball. With it nice and slack behind, it just gives the time for the feeder to work correctly and the line's not going to interfere. When you're doing this style of fishing, sometimes you might not get a response. You think you're in the right spot, there's fish there, and just nothing will happen. So an impact is really important, and there's a few different things I like to do in the swim to try and tease one of them fish on. I fish a lot of this style of matches, and sometimes one fish can make all the difference. So changing it up slightly can just propel you from nowhere to first. Firstly, a bit of boilie crush in your bait, putting some flecks of colour in, giving it a little bit more attractant. It's not going to make that massive difference to your bait, but there's a different colour on the bottom. It might entice a fish to come down and have a little look at your hook bait. Another one I've had an awful lot of success with is goo. Now, goo you could probably use from start to finish and you'd probably catch, but I like it as this impact. So we know what we're doing from the start, we know what's catching fish, but sometimes if you can't just get that bite, adding a little bit of goo, adding a bit of scent and colour into the swim, a bit of an explosion in the area can get you that all important bite. Another one I like to do is, I always have my soaked pellets around the feeder. I think pellets are the ultimate bait this time of year around the feeder, but sometimes rather than having all soft ones there, I'll get a few dry ones out the bag, just drop them in my method mould before I cast out and squeeze them on the top. And what happens then is, when you chuck out, those dry ones break down the top layer a bit quicker, and also dry pellets tend to sort of be a bit zero buoyancy, so they float up a little bit, show themselves in the peg, so you're just making a bit of a mess in the peg to try and attract fish into the area. Finally, a real simple way of getting yourself a bite sometimes can be drop all the additives, drop all the exciting bits and bobs, just unclipping, taking a metre or two off so you're chucking over the back of your bait, or somewhere fresh or somewhere new can get you that all important bite. If the fish have been concentrated on an area and you've nicked a few off it and it's gone quiet, don't hang around there, unclip, give yourself a little bit of yardage, go over the back, and sometimes it can get you a very quick bite. Here we go, here we go, here we go, 20 pounder. Well, what an amazing day's fishing at the amazing JCB Lakes. This one's decided to go round the corner, but this was the second chuck on the new line with the added addition of the boilie crush in. Just shows those little changes at the right times in the session can make all the difference. We've been very lucky today. The fish have come to us and we've had a good bit of sport, real simple fishing, not had to feed loads, just put that feeder in the right spot, and the battles have been brilliant. Let's hope we can land this one. It's a nice big one to finish on. X-Safe doing its job, method feeder doing its job, casting's not been too bad, and we've got a great big one to finish on in the net. Well, look at that for a fish to finish on. Double figures easy, just shows you, make the most of these winter months. That is brilliant fishing, dead simple, not a lot of bait, just popping a feeder in the right place and look at the reward. Well worth doing. Keep your kit out, guys, get out there fishing. This is fantastic.